back, coming in here for match number two, set number two. Game set. Match number 2 with our first set coming in. Our first game of our first set of our second match. That's what we're getting ready for right now. It is, of course, going to be Mystery Gaming versus Berserker eSports. And we'll start it off with yet another PvP.
Here we go again. We just wrapped up with Basilisk versus Twisted Fairy, and now we return with Mystery Gaming versus Berserker eSports, as you did mention. And this is going to be an interesting one. I do think that both these teams are very similarly matched, but there are some players here that we haven't seen much of in this season. For Mystery Gaming, we have SCV, I believe, making his debut this season for Mystery Gaming.
Yeah, making his debut in the season in general.
Oh my God.
I believe we saw in that elo 498, and that was just one straight line. And already I can tell that is way too low of an elo, just based on the accessories. That
we have to zoom in. We have to zoom. If you don't notice, SCV is flexing a cat ear headset. You can see the cat ears barely dipping out, but there we go.
Sporting in the top right corner of Ghost River. He's blue and he's representing mystery.
In the top left, we have DNS for Platinum R8.
Already, the determination on DNS's face. You can tell. Ain't no way he's gonna be losing to this man.
To a weeb.
SMH in my head. To a weeb. You know what? Yeah. It's interesting though, because it's a kind of an empty room that SCV is playing in. It's just the bed, a TV, and I think a window behind him. But we can already tell he's a weeb. He's expressing himself.
I can see the anime waifus that they're just out of camera. They're just out of, yeah. They're all over the walls. It's basically like a Haas room all over again. Just trying to hide it all, and we can catch a glimpse of it with that headset.
It's when you're trying to get ready for a job interview, you know, that's done via at home via webcam, but then you forgot that you're not wearing pants, and then you stand up.
Yeah, and then
you have your
you
suit
lose the
on,
job.
but then your lower pants is just pajamas.
Oh boy, I'm ready for it. But what I will say is that SCV is not a player to take lightly. We have been able to feature SCV actually in the past in Club NVX Ducklings Showdown. We casted SCV, I think it was against Quanta, if I'm not mistaken, and didn't look too badly whatsoever. Yeah, SCV, I feel like he's just a little bit underrated, but for good reason, just because he doesn't actually compete too often, doesn't partake in these WTL matches too often at all. It's usually Strange instead.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there. Fortunately, we are missing some of our regular players tonight, but it does allow other players like SCV a little bit of a time to shine. I will say, though, it's a little bit unfortunate that his debut match is against the ace player of Berserker.
Yeah, DNS is a heavy hitter here, and DNS is going to be coming in as the heavy favored player. For now, though, we're getting into double gate openers. It's going to be double stalker from both sides, so everything is looking as it should for the time being. We'll see if either player delays their expansion. As a reminder, we're loading into Ghost River. Last time we were here, we did see a one-base all-in. That was in Classic versus Trigger at the start of the night.
Yeah. I had already forgotten about that. We had such an intense night that we've had here so far. Great matches. Great matches.
Oh, yeah. Definitely is. It is going to be a Stargate opener for both players as well. So, again, we're just mirroring each other. Expansions have been thrown down. Both SCV and DNS just keeping pace one and the other. And we're still yet to really deviate in any kind of major way.
Yeah, it's the classic, you know, not classic the player, but classic is in the usual sentiment where it's, I don't really know how you play specifically, so I'm just gonna play normally and to suss each other out.
Yeah, and SCV, he slips in with the probe scout, by the way. He confirms the Stargate, and he makes the choice as he sees an Oracle on the way to make a Phoenix instead. So SCV, I love this move. But the question becomes, can he catch the Oracle? Having a Phoenix is one thing, but being in position and shutting down the Oracle before you take any damage is another.
It definitely is, especially with a Phoenix.
Mm.
See how usually when you start with a Phoenix here in PvP, you're going to be dedicated to it. So eventually we're going to be seeing those Phoenix wars, but Phoenixes definitely aren't as effective at deflecting oracles compared to something like, say, a Void Ray.
And we'll see as the Oracle does dip in. There is a shield battery in position, so we don't get any damage done. The Phoenixes, they come in from behind, and we do collapse on the Oracle. The Oracle is going to be shut down here. We go for the recall, but can we save it? Up!
Just barely not.
Ooh.
Just barely not. One Oracle is going to go down, and the other Oracle is going to stay at home. With 2 Oracles now out, SCV is feeling pretty safe to go explore the map, go fly away, and ideally take out some probes of DNS. Also very important for him to go for a scout, as that is in fact a Dark Shrine on the way.
Yeah, when behind a Dark Shrine, as we do have quite a bit going against DNS. Again, he invested quite a lot into his Stargate and into 2 Oracles, and so far he's done 0 damage with them. But the Phoenixes, they take a lot of damage here. Still at least has 1 Oracle alive, and there's so much onus on this Dark Shrine. Now, we did see a scout. DNS did scout the Twilight Council, and he saw that there was nothing researching. That is a bit of a tell. Now, could it just be that Blink is late, or could it be that there's something else on the way? SCV still has to confirm this, still has to piece it all together.
Indeed, he does. He'll probe here in the middle of the map just to add a little bit more of a forward warp in position. SCV moving forward to scout again, dips away from that natural base after confirming the Stalkers and the saturation as well. But again, he hasn't confirmed the Dark Shrine. He is getting a Robo, and ideally he's going to be getting Observers out, because otherwise that's gonna be an insta-GG.
Yeah, we've seen games end actually pretty regularly when it comes to DT-based builds, but there we go. We do have an Observer on the way. As you mentioned, there is a brutal supply block here. The pylon will eventually finish, and DT is going to be on the way. Now is not the time for a supply block. Here come the DTs.
One of them already slips past the Stalkers.
No. And do we go? Okay, we're going for the workers. Okay, I was worried we were going to go for the pylon and depower the Robo. Instead, we're going for the Mineral Lines. Probes are going down, and this is already becoming a lot of damage.
Yeah, game-ending damage. Honestly. Observer does pop out just at the end here, but already 10 probes get taken out. DNS wasn't able to get his oracles to pay for themselves, but he more than makes up for it here with the DTs.
Yeah, exactly. As we do pick off the second DT in the main base, we pick off 2 more probes here, 12 in total. That was some very nice damage dealt here by DNS. And now DNS, he takes a massive worker lead. He's got 59 against the 41 of SCV.
That's more than 10.
That's some quick math, boy. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That is more than 10. It's almost 20.
It is more than 10. It is almost 20, and we see it reflected here in the production bar as DNS is getting all of his upgrades. He's getting 4 more gateways.
I want to say that now. I want to say that now. Whenever a lot of workers go down, I want to be like, yo, that's less than 20. It's like, you're not true. Not wrong. Oh my god, here we go. We do see SCV trying to push out, but he's going to be caught out by DNS. We do have the Phoenixes coming from behind. We do manage to get a couple of workers, not too bad. We do shave off some of the worker count here, but SCV does need more done.
Yeah, he has been very, very good when it comes to his worker cycles, I would say. Well, I would say he almost caught back up with DNS, thanks to that Phoenix aggression, but now DNS is once again pulling ahead. Actually, natural base is a little unguarded, and just like that, SCV is able to even things out.
Is evening things out
Somewhat
here, but again, focusing on just recovering economically. Meanwhile, DNS, what have we been doing with that economic advantage? We have a Temple Archives on the way. We have a 4th base that's almost done here. We're working on +2 as well. DNS still has certain advantages to him. SCV is doubling down, it looks like, on mass Blink Stalkers, or on a mass Gateway Army.
Yeah, it's all he can really afford right now, considering how much damage he took early on. while SCV may have been able to reciprocate some of that probe damage and is not as far behind as he was earlier on, there was still a good solid 40 seconds to a minute where he was behind, and sometimes that's all it takes. You know, DNS in those 40 seconds to a minute was able to throw down so much more production, so much more tech, so much more, get so many more upgrades than a CV.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the quality of the army for DNS is superior to that of SCV. Now, what SCV does have is mobility, right? So where he doesn't have to worry about leaving his Immortals behind, or Archons, or Charge Lots. He is relying on a very hefty Stalker count, and with this, he can try to outposition DNS. He can go for these counterattacks, he can go for these backstabs. There is a lot available to him, but there's pressure on him to get something done. For now, DNS is still just building up his death ball of an army, and SCV has to do something here.
Yeah. And you know what? When behind Dark Shrine, that's twice in the single game that we're seeing that. I like it. I'm here for it.
It's a bit of a later Dark Shrine for SCV, but if it can finish, then we can definitely make some moves happen here. Something important is that DT harass can be very annoying to deal with, even in the mid to late game. Like, it can still be so frustrating to try to have detection and cannons in time and actually be prepared and defend. So we'll see what can get done. Meanwhile, SCV does try to outmaneuver DNS, but he's also getting himself trapped.
Yeah, DNS looking to flank this, does blink on forward. Huge recall, forces a huge recall, which will deal with the Zealot harass, and SCV doesn't lose too many of his Stalkers either, but he needed to deal damage, and he hasn't gotten it yet.
Yeah, he has not dealt the damage he was looking for. +3 now on the way for DNS. Here come the first wave of Dark Templar. DTs are morphing in, but at the same time, DNS, he's pushing with his main army.
Yeah, his main army, which is of a much, much higher quality. Upgrades are just about even right now, but DNS obviously has a higher army supply. He's got Archons, he's got Immortals. I don't see any way SCV takes a hit-on-hit engagement.
Yeah, he needs to avoid that. He's going to be able to pick off some sentries and zealots here and there, so not a bad beginning. Meanwhile, DT does slip in, but it's only one Dark Templar. It goes down to the cannon, just not enough there to break through that defensive line. And DNS is still getting ready for his own push. Again, the Archons, they just melt Zealots. Immortals, they do well against Stalkers. It's going to be about how the engagement does play out, though. We'll see if SCV can pick off some of these high-tech units.
Yeah, relying a lot on blink control, but unfortunately for SCV, DNS also has to blink on those Stalkers. Zealots do get warped in, trying to go for a bit of a run-by. Both players now maxed out, trying to get something done. But again, they're maxed out, but DNS has a better army. Yeah,
I mean, SCV does go for a Zealot run-by at the third base and also go for a counterattack at the natural as well, but DNS, he does defend in time. Probes are going to be going down, but he's pushing in towards that base. Zealots, they come in for a surround, though. They're trying to get on top of these Immortals.
Yeah, but instead they get on top of Archon volleys. They absolutely evaporate. The Immortals finally go down, but there's still plenty of leftover units here for DNS to keep pushing.
Yeah, the Archons, they hold the line. DNS, he breaks the third base. You can see some Archons being peeled away, and SCV is going to be able to deal with them, but the main army has broken the base itself. Probes are falling, the Nexus as well, and DNS, he just has to reinforce and keep this push going.
Like so. Or not. GG. DNS going to be taking game number 1.
GG, well played. A solid game there out of DNS. I mean, SCV was holding his own for quite some time, but the big moment, of course, was that DT harass and, of course, that massive economic lead that DNS found himself with.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good move from SCV to go for a Phoenix response once he scouted the oracles of DNS, but after that, DNS, with a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it a Hail Mary, but he definitely knew he was behind, and he definitely knew that he needed a little bit of a miracle, ended up getting it with that DT harass. Obviously, SCV as well played into that a little bit by just having a massive supply block at possibly the worst timing. The worst timing to have a supply block in the history of StarCraft 2? Like, it's got to be up there.
It's a brutal timing there for the supply block for sure, and that did mean, or that did allow DNS to get even more damage done, and with that it got out of hand, got out of control. But now we're getting ready for game number 2. Interesting map choice. SCV is going for Side Delta, and we spoke about this in the Trigger versus Classic game, where Side Delta has a much more unique impact on the PvP matchup.
Yeah, it's a little bit safer than Ghost River. I feel like our Protoss players have just kind of made a pact with this round, where Ghost River is always going to be the first map. You know, they've subliminally infiltrated SC Boy admins to always pick Ghost River. And then the second map is always going to be Side Delta.
Yeah, and again, Side Delta does allow you to be more greedy, more economic, or you could maybe be planning to go for a one base all in against your other Protoss opponent. I'm curious to see how both SCV and DNS play this out. It should be gate expands. If it isn't, well then that's something to take note of.
Yeah, it could be a proxy Twilight Council.
Yeah.
Into Blink.
Into a disconnected clean feed into end of game, but we don't know what happened. Could happen again.
Could. Anyway, here we have on Side Delta in the top left-hand corner, our blue Weeb Protoss player. It was SCV from Mystery Gaming.
And in the bottom right, we have DNS for Berserker eSports. It looked like there was like an earthquake.
A little bit of a tremor there.
Yeah. Oh my god, calm down. But yeah, you know, maybe just SCV just being very adamant there with his keystrokes. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Rotterdam in the chat. Oh my god, thank you so much for the massive raid. Hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great time covering WTL. I believe Rotterdam was also casting the Basilisk series, so thank you so much.
Yeah, much love. Much appreciated coming down here.
So welcome everyone to Mystery Gaming versus Berserker eSports. We're still in our first best of 2, and we're still getting into the beginnings here of our PvP.
Indeed, we are. Are we going to see more Stargate play? Are we going to see more than 2 Phoenixes be produced? We shall keep our eye out. I feel like this is a sign. With the Rye rate that we're just going to get Phoenix Wars in game number 2.
In honor of Rotterdam. I mean, it's possible. We are opening up a gate expand here from both sides, and this can be the beginnings of something like Phoenix Wars. The reasoning for this is that both players should be going for a Stargate before expansion. Both players have already taken their 2 gases, so we are set up for tech before Nexus. I say that, my apologies, SCV is taking a later gas, so he might end up going for a slightly faster expansion. We'll see, but if we go Stargate versus Stargate, this could be the beginning of Phoenix Wars.
Yeah. It's been decreed.
Okay, we have to because of Ruddy. I mean, it's out of our hands.
Yes, exactly. It's law. DNS, meanwhile, doing such a good job of just delaying this expansion from SCV. Again, SCV, with a delayed second gas, was planning to go for a much quicker expansion compared to DNS here. But DNS is kind of forcing things to even out, kind of forcing the timing to be the same, which is going to be a huge advantage for him. He's going to have the Nexus at around the same timing, and he's going to be up a gas.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we were mentioning earlier about Phoenix Wars, because as you can see, we have Stargate versus Stargate. And because both players are aware of each other's Stargates, both players should be going Phoenix here. And once you start, you don't stop, or it's difficult to stop. Oh my god, as we're delaying quite heavily with the proxy Cybercore, with the Cybercore block even.
Yeah, finally the Adepts come out and are... Ooh! That Adept wanted to take out the probe, but the Shade finished. Ay. That's definitely unfortunate here.
Oh my god.
SCV forced to take the Unnatural.
Oh, that is
worrisome.
Yeah, that's a brutal expansion location here, going for the unnatural natural. Now, it looks like DNS does confirm with the probe scout, so it's fully aware of what's going on. Both players have opened up Phoenix, and again, we should be committing to additional Phoenix production. As I say that, DNS is cutting Phoenixes early on. I'm curious where he goes from here.
Oh, I almost said battery overcharge. The Chrono Boost being thrown on the Stargate. And there we go, Phoenixes once again. It looks like he just delayed additional production on that to gas block? Yeah, I think he's trying to gas block SCV.
He's gas stealing across the map. He's an animal, Bobby. He takes both gases at the natural. Oh my god.
And he lets them finish.
I mean, what do, right? There's no Zealot, there's no Adept. Like, it's own, like, Phoenixes don't shoot down, so these gases, they now belong to DNS.
Yeah, it's gonna mine from them. So we're gonna lift up this Adept and take it out with the Phoenixes. DNS, once he saw his opponent wearing those cat headphones, he knew he had to. He didn't choose violence. He had to pick violence.
And now we do have that one Zealot has a little work to do to bring down both those gas geysers. Meanwhile, DNS just saturating his 2-base setup here. We're on Phoenix versus Phoenix. Second Stargate has been thrown down for DNS, so he's going to be able to double down on the mass Phoenix production. Interestingly, SCV goes for a second gateway and has stopped Phoenixes, so it looks like SCV wants to try to transition out of Phoenixes.
Yeah, not a bad move, I would say. DNS even sent his Zealot across the map to stop this Zealot from... Chat can't see this, I'm grinning ear to ear. I love what I'm seeing. I love the bullying that DNS is thrown out.
You're like, they're both animals, Poppy. It's great, it's beautiful. Finally, one of the gas
guys... They're both
geysers...
animals, one of them is trying to establish dominance.
They are. And finally, one gas geyser goes down, the other is under fire. Now, because of the double Stargate production, DNS will be able to overwhelm the Phoenixes of his opponent. There is going to be an overcharge, so SV will have the defender's advantage at his Nexus. We'll have that available to him, but is it going to be enough to overcome the amount of Phoenixes that we have? It's difficult to tell here. It's difficult to call, as SV still does not have those Blink Stalkers, as it looks like he wants to transition into Blink.
Yeah, getting Blink now, but again, that's going to take a lot of time. Getting a Twilight Council already ate up into his build. Getting Blink is going to take him more time. Getting these gases delayed is going to cut into his Stalker production as well. And now the Phoenixes are out.
They are out, and the problem here is that SCV cannot fight out of range of his shield battery. He's confined to within range of the shield battery overcharge, and we just dive in anyway. Ooh, we almost get a Phoenix already here, and it looks like we're just overwhelming the army. We just collapse and we pounce in. The overcharge doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like DNS is trying to bait out an overcharge. In the end, he didn't even need to do that. He just had enough Phoenixes to overwhelm the army of SCV.
Yeah, we force an overcharge in one base and we just go to the other. We just go to the main instead, and we can just have our way with all those workers. We get a full scout off. Phoenixes are continuing. We can see back at home, DNS is working towards Immortal production, or at least a Robo, but he can just commit to Phoenix.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, sure, he can't kill any buildings, but we're at the point where it's 30 army supply worth of Phoenixes against 6 supply worth of Stalkers. The math just doesn't add up. DNS has got more than 10 of an army supply advantage than SCV.
I was about to say, he's got less than 10, Papi. True. As we just, we came to the production, we came to the bases here. SCV just cannot do anything against. This is the big reason why, when you're locked into Phoenix versus Phoenix, you have to keep making them, because it is so difficult to deviate away and to go into Blink Stalkers instead. GG gets called, and DNS will take it 2-0.
Just like so. DNS still steely-faced, still determined. He's glad that he's won that, obviously. Especially glad to win it against a cat earphone player. But yeah, pretty nicely done there from DNS. Again, a little bit unfortunate here for SCV. It is his debut match in WTL, and he kind of got thrown off the deep end. Thrown off in his debut match to face the ace player of his opponent's team.
Yeah, and again, SCV didn't look too bad. Like, game 1 was pretty back and forth. It was just so unfortunate that he got supply blocked and that the DTs did as much damage as they did in game number 1. So it was just an unfortunate start to the series. Here in game 2 was a little bit more brutal and more in favor of DNS. Regardless, GG, DNS will take it. DNS was coming in as the favored player, but now things can start to go back in favor of Mystery Gaming. Up next, we have Coffee versus BattleB. I feel like this series should be closer.
Yeah, absolutely. I took a little look in our prediction game that we have going on in Discord, and it looks like the majority of participants did predict that 1-1 coming down here.
Yeah, I remember having a really hard time. I was having a hard time predicting 1-1 or 2-0 for Coffee. Like, I'm a big Coffee fan, and Coffee's been impressing us a lot as of late. But I also recognize that BattleB has been popping off in WTL. Like, BattleB, he's kind of been floating under the radar, but here in World Team League, he's been getting some really nice showings here. Specifically, last week, sorry, it was 2 weeks ago in round number 2, BattleB did take a map off of Spirit. They went 1-1.
Yep. And that was an absolutely huge matchup here. Spirit, definitely one of the top Terran players in Europe. One of the top Terran players outside of Korea in general, I would definitely say. So that was kind of where my head was at as well. I was, again, I love Coffee. I had most of my builds are shamelessly stolen from Coffee. But if this was a previous season, I would 100% be 2-0 Coffee. But just based on that result and just based on how much BattleB has been improving in these past couple of weeks, just how much he has been impressing us here, I did have to go for that 1-1 in the end.
Yeah, again, it is hard to go 2-0 in either direction, but regardless, we are setting up for that, and right now there's a lot of pressure on Coffee as well. There's a lot of pressure on Mystery Gaming to fight back here in this series, to have more of a back and forth. This was a good start for Berserker eSports, but at the same time, as you mentioned, DNS is the ace player of Berserker, and, you know, he was meant to come in with the 2-0. He got the win that he was looking for. Now it's on the rest of his team to step it up as well.
Indeed. Even if it's just a 1-1, there's still going to be hope here for either team, really. Coffee wins 2-0, then, you know, that's obviously great. We even things out once again. But if BattleB gets at 2-0, then it's over and done with. Berserker will have taken this series.
Exactly. 2 more wins is all Berserker needs. For the time being, it looks like our players are just getting ready for their matches. The other match is going to be at the end of the night. It's going to be Cyan versus Mixu. That's going to be another interesting one. I do rate Cyan quite highly. It feels like Mixu did take a bit of a step back here, and he hasn't been as active in WTL. But that's also why I'm excited to see what Mixu has to offer. I guess we should also point out that we are missing one of our key components of Berserker this week. Gung Fu Banda is not here.
Yeah, which is interesting. I mean, both Mystery Gaming and Berserker missing out one of their regular players, but again, gives some of our players some time to shine. I'm definitely excited for that Cyan Mixu match that we're going to be seeing. Cyan has been impressing us a lot over the past couple of years, I would say. I want to say Cyan was the player who beat Oliveira when Oliveira was, you know, the absolute top player in not just China, but in the Asia region in general. So that was definitely very exciting to see. And like you were saying, Mixu is somebody who I feel like we haven't seen as much of recently. Anyway, here we are in Amphion. In the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Terran player. Going to be playing for Mystery Gaming. It's Coffee.
And in the bottom left, we have for Berserker eSports, it is BattleB. Here we go, our TBT is upon us. Game 1 on Amphion, an interesting map, a map that we don't get to see enough of nowadays, and Coffee he's sending out a couple of SCVs.
Yeah, that's more than one.
It is.
Not just for scouting.
It is less than 3, but more than 1. Here we go, we have 2 SCVs moving out of the map. Raxes are gonna be thrown down, and BattleB, it's going to be on him to react to scout, to recognize what's going on. I'm also curious to see what kind of opener he goes for, if he goes for a Rax Expand or a double gas opener instead.
Yeah, both of them I think have been getting very popular here in TBT. BattleB is going to be playing things out pretty safe-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going for a 2-Rax of his own.
Yeah.
But it's still single gas.
I mean, I'm loving this from BattleB, by the way. So it's going to be 2-Axe Reaper back at home. This is designed to counteract a proxy, by the way. So very nice read out of BattleB. He didn't SCV scout, by the way. He has no idea what's going on, but he's going to be able to kind of keep up and be on par with the production of Coffee.
Yeah, he doesn't need to SCV scout. Coffee's reputation precedes him.
True. Okay, now this is important. Coffee comes in with the SCV scout, and he will confirm both Raxes in the main base of BattleB.
Yeah, he's going to have to slow down a little bit and formulate a follow-up from here. He knows that BattleB is going to be able to match this production, and he knows that BattleB will also have that defender's advantage. He's going to be able to get his Reapers out on the battlefield just a little bit quicker. But it looks like Coffee right now, he is committing to this, feeling pretty confident about his control, it seems.
Yes, so there's going to be a small window. There's a small window where Coffee has a 2-1 lead when it comes to Reapers and a 3-1 lead as well. But it's only a couple of seconds, so Coffee has to be very careful with how he does maneuver and how he does engage, bearing in mind that BattleB doesn't actually know what's going on. He has not scouted the proxy. His SCV is now moving out, but he hasn't quite confirmed what's going on. So a lot of this is going to come down to the reaction time as well of BattleB.
Indeed, it is. Coffee moving forward with 3 Reapers, yeah. 3 versus 2. How's the control? Ooh, already. Coffee going to be able to pounce on top of one of these Reapers, going to be able to maintain his Reaper lead, and he's going straight forward. The wall is not a wall. I guess it doesn't matter anyway. Reapers can jump.
Yeah, Reapers.
Yeah, Coffee feeling very confident when it comes to his unit control.
Yeah, as you mentioned, BattleB, he just had a bit of a delay in his reaction, lost 1 Reaper, losing a 2nd Reaper as well, and Coffee snowballing out of control, finally bleeds out 1 Reaper, but he's came to the production, and we have done a GG gets called. Coffee will take game number 1. Whew.
Like so. Whew. Yeah, unfortunate here from BattleB.
Yeah,
just
again,
really goes to show the killer instinct of Coffee as well, to just see what the advantage is and to just no hesitation, pounce right on top of that Reaper, pounce right on top of everything, really.
Yeah, as I mentioned, you know, as soon as Coffee got that 3rd Reaper, he went for the kill, and we saw that it took a couple of seconds too much for BattleB to pull away with his Reapers to realize what was going on. 1 Reaper died instantly. I say instantly, it took like 2 or 3 volleys there, and with that, GG gets called. Coffee snowballs out of control, and Coffee has begun the comeback here for Mystery Gaming.
Indeed, he has 1 more, and he's going to even out this series, this match. Yes, this series/match, and then it's going to be all on Cyan and Mixu. Ideally, they won 1, and then we get into an ace match as well, if that's what's going to happen here. But we'll see. As we're getting ready for game number 2. BattleB has selected his map, Site Delta. Going to be on the way.
Yeah, Site Delta is a much more defendable map. It's a little more, of course, it's a bit larger, more macro-oriented, so this tells us that BattleB does want to settle into a longer game. I don't blame him. BattleB, he wants to play some StarCraft Papi, as he was denied that in that first game. But Coffee's in the driver's seat, and I'm curious, Yaku, does Coffee have it in him to even proxy 2 games in a row after revealing his hand in game 1?
I'm going to say no proxy out of Coffee this time.
Okay.
But many Hellions.
Potentially. Oh boy, and here we go. We're diving into game number 2.
Yeah, we're in the bottom right-hand corner. We have a blue Terran for Mystery Gaming. It's Coffee.
And in the top left, we have for Berserker eSports, it is BattleB.
I'm getting better at adapting to the intros. I think I had half a second. I think I had half a second to spare there this time.
There you go. Speeding on through, man. Let's go.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Unfortunately, you have to cut out, you know, where they're from or where they are, you know.
Yeah.
Which corner of the map, right?
And yeah, we're not allowed to. Yeah, I have to cut that out. There's only a single confirmation of where they're spawning in from.
Yeah. Which means we don't really know, actually.
We can't double check. Yeah. If you miss the first one, you're not gonna get a second reminder.
As we settle into this, we can see that Coffee this time does not move out with his first couple of SCVs, so he's going to be chilling back at home instead, going for a much more standard opener. We can see that BattleB is playing it safe, going double gas. Meanwhile, Coffee, sticking with 1, looks like it's going to be an economic opener out of our Terran player. Blue Terran, I mean.
Yeah, even just racks expand from the looks of that queue up and pathing of the SCV building the barracks. Scouting SCV making its way across the map.
Yeah, so I do like this for Coffee. Basically, game 1, cheesing the hell out of BattleB. Game 2, open up economically. And, I mean, Coffee, he isn't going to be punished for it or anything like that. Should be able to get away with it. Should be able to get away with a bit of an economic lead here in game 2.
Yeah, definitely frazzled BattleB a little bit. BattleB, you'll be playing things out very, very cautiously, going for a factory expand. And so it looks like Coffee will be able to get away with this economic opening.
Yeah, on top of that, Coffee does confirm with his SCV scout, so he's fully aware of what BattleB is up to. from this factory setup, we can go Reactor Reaper Hellion from the side of BattleB. That is true. We can also go into a heavier Cyclone count, which used to be a lot more common at the start of the year, you know, pre-patch or in the previous patch. Which we do see from time to time if a player wants to play mech, but it is nowadays a lot more uncommon.
Yeah. Thank the council.
You're like, thank God. Get those Cyclones out of here. True.
Just let me do my coffee build again, my transcendent TVT opening once again. And you know what? It's back. It is back. Even if the Terran player opens up with a single Cyclone or two. All you got to do is juggle. All you got to do is throw on those KDA charges. I love it.
There you go. As yeah, BattleB, he is getting that safety Cyclone. This could just be a double Cyclone opener into a Cyclone drop. Medevac is on the way behind this. We'll keep an eye on the production tab of BattleB. Meanwhile, the Reapers are trying to dip in, but we're in position, and we do get a kill on the first Reaper.
Yeah, unfortunate here for BattleB. Not able to get that full scout, and you know, also loses out a little bit in that Reaper battle at the start.
And with that, BattleB is going to relinquish some of that map control. Bearing in mind, though, he does have that Cyclone. It was only a singular Cyclone, though, as we're settling into our tech lab. And we can see that BattleB, he's going for a very fast tank. Does cancel it for a moment here to prioritize the medevac, but tank production should be commencing here for BattleB.
Yeah, slowly but surely. Coffee scouting everywhere on the map. BattleB, okay, throws around after sending that Cyclone out. Coffee taking a very long route around this. I question that.
I mean, he avoids the main army. Like, he avoids the center, he avoids the main army, and he's going to be able to slip into the main base for the full scout. By the way, he's going to confirm the 1-1-1. He sees the medevac drop just as it pops out as well.
And he's going to be able to get ready back at home. Tank is out now as well, and again, Coffee confirms this, so he has plenty of time back at home to get something ready. He's already got Ravens on the way. He's already got a tank of his own.
And we can see Coffee preparing. I like this adjustment out of BattleB. You can see that he was getting ready for a Marine drop, but he leaves all the Marines back at home and instead moving out with, I believe that is the Cyclone in the medevac instead. Coffee's ready for it, but BattleB is no longer as committed with this drop play.
It's not going to be able to get too much done with it, even if it weren't for these Marines.
So Coffee does deflect this. We can see BattleB immediately going for a third CC back at home. Third command center has begun. Coffee has yet to commence his own, but we'll see if he can keep up as he's just doubling down here on Raven tank. That is a second starport.
That is a second starport coming out from... Yeah, that is the second starport coming out from Coffee.
And it's been a while since we've seen this. Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen this. It's hidden in the natural, I believe. Oh, no, my apologies. Hidden in the main base, behind the main base mineral line. And if you remember, this was a very popular build by Juanito last year and even the year before that. This should be a 2-base all-in. Oh, yeah.
It's on BattleB to scout this right sooner rather than later. Very good position here from Coffee, because who builds a second starport nowadays? And more importantly, who builds a second starport behind the mineral line of your main base nowadays? This is worrisome, to say the least.
Ooh, big snipe as well. We shut down the medevac, we shut down the Cyclone, we're moving out across the map. Now, the way this build works, the way this all-in works, is that we're going to be hyper-focusing on Viking production. You can see that we're making 3 Vikings at a time, and behind this, we're going to be getting to a Liberator as well, so we can just bully back the ground army and leapfrog forward. But the armies are going to be clashing here in the center of the map.
What just injured that tank? It's friendly fire?
I think those are Marine. I think.
Okay.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Maybe friendly fire.
Yeah, we are setting up in the middle of the map. BattleB does have a decent defensive line, but once again, as Coffee builds up his Viking count, it's going to be less and less relevant here for BattleB. It's going to get chased all the way back home like so.
Yes, and because Coffee has this air control with all his Vikings, here come the libs. You can see them on the production tab. Liberators are now on the way, and that's to bully back the ground army, the tanks of BattleB. Meanwhile, there's also a third CC in production, so it looks like Coffee, he's deviating away from the all-in. He's preparing for a longer game. Well, meanwhile, boys are being pulled. We do see BattleB trying to break this.
Yeah, good disable and good auto-tart placement from BattleB. He is able to overwhelm the tanks, loses 7 SCVs, but he is ahead on the base count. His third orbital did just about finish up, so nicely done here from BattleB.
Very
He's
nice.
actually still ahead when it comes to the worker count.
He still has that worker lead again. These Liberators, they got here just a little bit too late. Arguably, Coffee was a little bit too aggressive without his Liberators, and with that, Coffee takes a massive dip. There are a massive loss in supply. BattleB has a massive tank lead on this side of things.
That he does. Still pretty low when it comes to the Viking count. Has to be very careful. He only has 1 Raven remaining. And Ravens are pretty good in TVT.
As we just saw, your auto towers, they can make or break a fight. Disables as well. You can see that Coffee, for the time being, is still holding onto this center position, still flexing his air control, is taking his third base behind this. Both players are on 3 base saturation. Oh, but Coffee throwing down 2 more CCs. Oh my god.
I'm going to try to double expand while he has the map control. I like what BattleB is doing here in the middle of the map, by the way. Just by sieging and constantly re-sieging and you know, being active, he is forcing Coffee to slow down. Coffee wanted to be right on top of this third base by now, but instead he is forced to siege in the middle of the map. He is slowing things down, and that's buying BattleB so much time to get stim, to get more barracks, to saturate his third.
That's a fusion core on the way. I don't think that's for mid-range.
That's a fusion core on the way.
I'll be honest, that could be for fast BCs. I'm curious, as we're playing mech, by the way, so we have the factory production, going to be continuing here for Coffee. Liberators have broke up in the main base, and at the third, SVs are going to be going down. A bit of a desperation move here out of Coffee, but he's getting a lot done.
Yeah, a bit of a desperate move, but it's getting drastic results. I'm not sure if that's how the saying goes. Liberators will fall, and just like that, Coffee is able to roughly even out the worker count.
Yeah, it does help even things out. Yeah, we have... okay, there we go. We do force a cancel on that CC. There's that BC production that we mentioned, by the way, as we do have that fusion core. Now, BCs are the ideal in TVT. They can really just snowball out of control, but they take a long time to build into, so we'll see how long it takes for Coffee to build up that BC count and to get into his Sky Terran.
Yeah, what's worrisome here for BattleB is that he is producing Metavacs. Now, to counter 2 BCs is a whole lot of Vikings, ideally with some Raven support for anti-armor and whatnot. But right now, BattleB is just committed to this bio push.
I mean, there's a window, right? There's a window where BattleB can kill Coffee before this mech can get out of hand, before the BCs can get out of hand. But that window is closing. Meanwhile, we come in with the disables, and the tanks, they do get disabled, by the way. Almost every single one.
Almost every single one, but one tank in the front line will get a couple of volleys off. In the end, I guess it doesn't matter because they get taken out. A lot of tanks from BattleB being shut down as well, but he has more than enough to keep this siege line going. 21 SCVs go down for Coffee, and just like that, BattleB is up on the worker count. He's got 64 versus the 40 of Coffee. That's more than...
Yeah, it's one of the... While the math is being done. It's one of those things where BattleB didn't kill Coffee, but he has crippled his economy. That's all he did need to do. You can see that behind this, oh, BC is revealed, but behind this, BattleB is making 2 more starports. He's getting up to triple starport production. This entire game, he's been down in the air control, down in the Vikings, but BattleB is soon going to skyrocket ahead in that air control, in that Viking count.
Indeed, he is. Did I see that correctly? Did BattleB lift up his main base?
Did he?
Potentially, well. At any rate, he is able to land it back in position. He will not, however, land this orbital. It is immediately going to get taken out. Huge pickoff here for BattleB. Coffee already so far behind. He is starving for mining, and he's not going to get it without a base.
Yeah, exactly. That's a kill on the CC. Just containing Coffee to 3 bases. That's going to be the win condition for BattleB. Just contain for as long as we can. The BC taking a lot of hits as well. We do overextend. The BC goes down.
Nice pick off here from BattleB. So very, very careful and measured control coming out from him as well. With the juggling off that tank, with the baiting off that BC. You see a second drop here. Not a lot of anti-air here. BattleB, yeah, is aware of this. He will be turning around. Gonna lose a couple of tanks. One tank to the Yamato.
Yeah, it does lose a couple of tanks, but as we bleed out tanks, you can see that BattleB is making 6 Vikings at a time. You spoke about it before about how that Viking count is so crucial to counteract the BCs, and we're getting there. That's going to be 2 more starports. I think that's going to be a 5 starport setup for BattleB. My god.
Yeah. As a wise man once told me, endgame for TBT is always Sky Terran. Whether you're playing mech or whether you're playing bio.
Oh yeah, it's all about that Sky Terran, and the BCs are able to bully back the ground army, but here come the Vikings and late reaction out of Coffee.
Very late reaction from Coffee. Once again, I'm just really impressed with how BattleB has been positioning his armies, coming in with flanks like this, with those Vikings to take out the BC. He's making sure that Coffee will never hit critical mass of BCs.
It is just never going to happen at this point, and now Coffee is out of position. BattleB just walking right into the natural. GG gets called. We don't even get a final fight as BattleB ties us up 1-1.
GG. Very nicely done here from BattleB. I was worried after game number 1. I was worried a little bit looking at BattleB's cam. It did look like he was a little bit shaken from that loss, which I can't say I blame him. You know, getting Proxy Reaper like that when you yourself are going for a double racks is frustrating. I think we've all been there. Terran players know that feeling, but game number 2, he was able to shake things off. He was able to recover mentally a little bit, and he was able to just stay on top of his control, his macro, his scouting, and just take what looked like a pretty convincing victory. Like after the minute he scouted that Coffee was going for BCs, he knew exactly what to do. Foot was on the pedal, hands were on the steering wheel, and he was in complete control of the rest of that game. GG. That is why so many participants in our prediction game did predict this 1-1.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like BattleB, he is a force to be reckoned with here. Had an unfortunate game 1, but here in game 2 he does really show us what he's made of here. Was able to cripple and shut down the initial 2-base push of Coffee. 2-base borderline all in, if you remember, with the double starport. Coffee just was maybe a little bit too cavalier before he had his critical mass of Viking and Liberator at the time available. So he was caught with his pants down a little bit. That was a big fight for BattleB. He was in control from that moment. And now we're going to be settling into the final best of 2. Cyan versus Mixu. I was just double checking here the history of these past couple of weeks, these past couple of rounds in WTL, and Gung-Fu Banda has been here as, you know, the third player, as even arguably the ace player of Berserker eSports. But this week he's not, and Mixu is making his debut this season for Berserker.
Yeah, Gung-Fu Panda's on holiday apparently. That's what chat is telling us. We'll take your word for it until proven otherwise. But yeah, Mixu could be coming in, gonna be playing his debut match against, I wouldn't quite call Cyan the ace player of Mystery Gaming, but he's absolutely up there. One of the heavier hitters of the team. I almost said one of the heavier players, but no, that means something different. He is one of the heavier hitters of Mystery Gaming, and Mixu is not a bad player at all. He is a player who I feel like has always been kind of on the cusp of having a big breakout in that EU region, but hasn't quite made it yet. And obviously in these past couple of months, he has been taking a little bit of a step back from competing. We don't really know what his form is at, but I definitely think that this is going to be a very close series.
Oh yeah, I do hope so. I do hope that's the case. Also, a shout out to Papa Farrell in the chat. Of course, for those that are unaware, Papa Farrell, he is the owner of Berserker eSports, so he's there cheering for his boys, and did let us know that Gung-Fu was on holiday. So thank you so much for letting us know, and best of luck as well to you and your team as we're getting ready here for our final best of 2, Game 1, Site Delta.
Indeed, and already I'm feeling pretty confident for Mixu. He's got the Keen setup.
Does he have the stove on top of the washing machine? Is that what you're saying?
We'll have to check. Anyway, in the bottom right, we have a Blue Protoss player from Mystery Gaming. Here's Cyan.
And in the top left, we have Mixu for Berserker eSports.
Now that looks like an oven that's underneath the stove, but it could be a washing machine.
One can only hope.
Yep. Yeah. Life hack, by the way. If you don't have enough space for a dryer, just get an oven.
There you
Put
go.
your clothes in the oven.
Just cook your clothes. It's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a fan in the oven. You can just turn on the fan. True.
Exactly. Is there a fan in the oven?
Yeah. Or if it's fan forced, to be fair.
Most of the ovens I know just have those rods that heat up.
Okay.
The top and the bottom.
Never mind.
Your voodoo, your magic has not quite hit our shores yet.
Those are some older ovens, Yaku. Let me tell you. Let me. Say, mate, I just light a fire under mine. I know what you're on about.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh, that reminds me of 1 year. 1 year where I thought, you know what? We don't have an outdoor space because obviously living in an apartment. I think this was during COVID where I was like, I want some barbecue. So I bought some charcoal, put it in like an old pot that we don't use anymore, lit it on fire and put a grill on top of it. Eventually, I think the firefighters were called. They came in and asked what we were doing, and I was like, oh, I'm just barbecuing. And they were like, you're gonna die if you do that. Please put it out. Or at least open a window to let the smoke out.
Yeah, that's probably advisable, yes. So at least open the window, yes. Did you manage to cook any meat, though? Did you eat any food?
I did.
Ah, there you go.
Tasted pretty good. Yeah, that little smokiness from the charcoal.
Beautiful, beautiful. As we're settling into our openers here, and so far it's going to be a hatch gas pool standard opener from Mixu, forced to take the unnatural natural. Cyan, on the flip side, has gone for a gate expand as well, going for our tech of choice, going for a star gate opener.
Yeah, nice and standard here in PvZ. Guessing both of our players, Cyan more so, is just trying to suss out. How Mixu plays.
Yeah,
Again, it's been a while since we were able to get our eyes on Mixu.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always so excited to see some more Mixu action. Cyan, I would say, coming in as maybe a slight favored player here, has been looking very impressive as of late. Both Cyan, Jeshi, and Firefly, they've all been popping off in their own respective ways, taking it to some of these bigger name Korean players and even Europeans as well. It's been really exciting to see the rise of the Chinese Protoss players, as they've all just been leveling up over the past couple of years.
Yeah. It's a new triad that's forming.
Oh, yeah.
We used to have Bud Always, Haas, and Nice, but all of them are retired now, actually. I was going to say 2 of them are retired, but I'm not sure. Nice hasn't been as active anymore either. Okay, he's still somewhat active.
Yeah, he's still out there. It's okay. But yes, Bud Always and Haas are not as active as they used to be. Meanwhile, that is not an Oracle opener, by the way. It's going to be Stargate into Void Ray back at home for Cyan.
Interesting choice. Looking to either high tech or just be very, very, very safe here. And that was quite a handful of Zerglings that were morphed, but this Void Ray completely avoids them. But thankfully, we do have 2 Adepts back at home. Cool.
Yeah, we're hunting down Overlords instead, and we do manage to catch an Overlord outside the natural base. Queens are coming in. Can we save the Overlord? We cannot. The Overlord does go down. The Void Ray overextending a little bit, but we should be able to back off. And as you mentioned, typically with a Void Ray opener, the goal here is to shut down Overlords and to hide our tech. I'm curious if we go for a Twilight Council on its own, whether we go for a Forge, maybe a Robo, whether we go for a double Stargate into Sky Toss. There's a lot available here for Cyan. For now, though, he is establishing his third.
Nice and safe. Have to be so careful with this Void Ray. Still out in the middle of the map, taking a lot of hits from these queens.
Does take a lot of damage. Probe gets shut down, but we do have Adepts in position, so this third base is going to be safe and sound. Behind this, Cyan did invest or reinvest into Oracles. They're going to be a little bit later, and ideally we're hoping that maybe Mixu skips out on Spores, but the Oracles have been scouted, they've been spotted, and Mixu is getting ready for them.
Yeah. Just like so, we already have our Spores on the way. We already have a Roach Warren about to be finished up. So Mixu is preparing to be safe back at home, but also preparing for that counterattack. I feel like it's 50-50 now. I was gonna say, I feel like it's 50-50 nowadays when I see a Roachborn at this timing of whether or not the Zerg player is gonna go for that Drop-a-Lord push, or just is either gonna go for that Drop-a-Lord push or gonna be having an elastic defense with speed roaches.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a safety roach one here, just because, I mean, Mixu didn't know either whether it was Glaive Adepts or not as a follow-up, so just being very safe as a response, we shut down one of the Adepts. The Adepts, they do shade into the natural, by the way. Boys are being pulled, drones are going down.
Yeah, nice drone drilling coming out from Mixu. He is going to lose a couple of drones, inevitably, but it could have definitely been a lot worse. The Adepts are still alive. Uh-oh. And they're getting more damage here in the main base. This is damage that Cyan was looking for, and he is feasting on drones.
Exactly. 6 workers do go down. Good aggression here from Cyan. At the same time, the Oracles, they dive into the third. The Queens are out of position. We get 8 workers, 9 workers in total, barely getting a 10th as well, and every Oracle will escape, will survive.
Oh, worrisome here. Looked like these Oracles ran out of energy a little bit faster than normal. So yeah, that definitely did mess with some of the control, but in the end, Cyan is able to keep them alive, get some very good damage as well. Still behind in that worker count, but you know, he's forcing Mixu to rebuild these drones instead of getting more roaches out.
Yeah, when it comes to the follow-up as well from the side of the Protoss, it's going to be +1 and Blink. It was a standard transition, a standard follow-up. 4th base is on the way. It looks like it looks like Cyan is working towards the mid-game. Mixu is being quite active, though, and his drone count has gotten quite high on 4-base saturation, and now we can focus on building up our army.
Like so. 75 drones, it's kind of critical mass. Oh, it's mass. It's a good worker count to have at this stage of the game, as yeah, Mixu doesn't have to spend his larva on anything other than army units and occasionally overlords. This is actually a push that's doing a lot more than I expected it to. Already takes out a queen with the help of this stasis ward. Cyan can keep this going.
Yeah, but Mixu, with his reinforcements, he should be able to hold on. Again, this is just light pressure out of Cyan. He does get a queen, as you mentioned, but will not be able to threaten the mineral line, will not be able to threaten the bases, as we have to stay off of creep. Behind this, though, we can see Cyan actually throwing down a second bay. I think that was meant to be a second robo, working towards eventually Colossus and disruptive production.
It's possible that second bay was cancelled, but I like to imagine it completed.
I think it was cancelled.
As we are setting back up, or setting up our production back at home here as Cyan, it wasn't cancelled. There we go, and the other one is not going to get cancelled either.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was, right at the last second?
It's a little bit unfortunate. Again, I'm pretty sure that was meant to be a second robo, so we can only make 1 Colossus at a time. That is a bit of an oversight for Cyan. At the same time, Mixu collapsing in the army. We spoke already before. Mixu did hit critical mass, or he did drone up to 4-base saturation a couple of minutes ago, and now he's been making nothing but lings and roaches.
And he's looking to hit hard before Cyan is really at his final form, really able to formulate a defense. This 4th base is going to go down, without a doubt. I say without a doubt, but now there are some doubts. Yeah, as the Void Rays make it back home, the Oracles make it back home.
Yeah, like, Papi, I'm doubting a little bit. It's like, well, when we get into the mineral line, probes are going to be falling. We should be able to collapse on the Nexus itself. Colossus has arrived, and that is going to fend back the army for a moment. The Stalkers, though, are looking quite low, and Mixu is going for the dive.
Yeah, not quite able to get right on top of that Colossus, but Thermal Lance isn't done yet. There we go. The 4th Nexus goes down. Was there ever any doubt?
That's a little bit.
A little bit, eh? It was possible that... It was possible.
But it does go down, as you mentioned. And again, Mixu's economy has been left untouched throughout this entire time. He's able to just rebuild and remax on Roach Ling. Behind this, he did throw down a Hydroden, and we can see that we're taking into Lurkers. Now, there's no Hive, so it's going to be Lair Tech Lurkers, which is not ideal. But based on the momentum that Mixu has, based on the fact that Cyan is stuck on 3 bases, we can get away with some Lair Tech Lurkers.
Indeed, we can. I was worried for a second that the icon that we saw was for Galil Reconstitution. I thought, no, there's no way it's that late. But twas for Muscular Augments. Twas the Hydra Speed upgrade, not the Roach one.
Yes, Hydra Speed is now done. We can see a bit of a Zealot drop into the main base. We're getting some damage done at the same time, though. Mixu focusing on his main push and his main assault does take down a good chunk of Stalkers. Doesn't quite break through the main army, though, as we're still waiting for that Lurker Den to finish.
Yeah, big run by here of Zealots. Will confirm the Lurker Den as well. Will it actually take it out?
Oh, that's going to be a big pick of V-Force that cancel on the Lurker Den. Okay, so Mixu is stuck on Roach Hydra.
That is worrisome, to say the least. That is going to delay Mixu's final form for so long. The lair is so low! The transfuses were not going to be enough to keep it alive. Thankfully for Mixu, he was already rebuilding the Lurker before the lair went down, and he is remaking the lair now, but even still, these are some very, very hefty losses.
Yeah, and again,
he's to sustain at this stage, as your Protoss opponent is about to hit their final form.
Yeah, Cyan is just keeping the tech low here for Mixu. Meanwhile, the Roach Hydra army pushing on forward, running into 3 Colossus now. That's quite an amount, and we still don't have a 4th. That's the big problem for Cyan. He just needs to establish a 4th base to maintain his economy, to get into Archons, to get into Storm, to just really round out his army, and it looks like that's going to happen here as Mixu just has been stuck on Roach Hydra and won't be able to break this.
Yeah, looking to, but getting blinded by Colossus lasers. As that Roach force is going to go down. In fairness, for Mixu right now, you do want to start trading out your Roaches so you can get more Hydras, so you can get more Lurkers. But you still want to get some damage done with these Roaches.
Yes, now it's time for Cyan to push out. There was a time in this game where Cyan was like down, what, 40, 50, 60 army supply, but now we've evened that up. We're pushing out with quite a formidable army. We have a line of Archons coming into support. Now, thankfully, we do have some Lurkers. Again, they don't have the most amount of range available. They're going to be able to hold on to the base, though, but Cyan, he's still looking to outposition the army of Mixu.
Yeah, these Spine Crawlers aren't quite done yet, and all of those Zealots can definitely wreak havoc here. They can actually tank the Spine shots.
I mean, that base is low.
Well, base is very low.
And we'll see as we
do snipe. The main army is looking to clash.
Yeah, we do snipe one Lurker there just barely, so good pick off by Cyan. He's rotating over towards the north, towards that weakened base, and we'll see if Mixu can keep up. He is maxed out, but again, with not the best upgraded army here, as the Colossus, they rain down here on those Hydras. A good amount of them do go down.
Yeah, I just realized that Hive is only now starting up for Mixu, which means that these Lurkers will not be upgraded for a very, very long time.
They will not. Meanwhile, the Fleet Beacon is on the way for Cyan. You could definitely argue that the Fleet Beacon is a little bit late, and it is, but that's because of the 4th base. Because the 4th base still is not even up and running. There is a single Lurker denying mining time at that 4th base. Cyan needs an economy.
He needs it desperately. These are expensive Protoss units that he's got right now. He's got to either trade perfectly, not lose a single one of them, or get that economy up and running. I have to wonder if it... I was going to say, I have to wonder if it would even be worth it for Cyan at this point to double expand, but with how low of an economy he's been working with for so long, he doesn't even have resources to get a 5th.
Yeah, he does not have the minerals for that, but here we go. Mothership is on the way. +1 air attack. Storm as well, just now finishing up for Cyan. You can see that he hasn't been able to break through any of these bases, but he has at least contained Mixu here to his 5-base setup. Mixu, finally, the Hive is done, and the Hive upgrades are finally on the way with those Vipers.
Yeah. And just like that, things are going to start looking a lot more even. I would even have to give the edge to Mixu, just because, again, Cyan's still struggling to mine at that 4th base.
I mean, the Vipers are going to be a big power spike, right? As soon as we get them, we can yoink in these Colossus, we can shut them down. Even now, we overextend! Colossus, they take a lot of hits, and we barely do not get one.
Just barely. This one Hydra really wanted to be a hero. Just one more hit. One more shot. I can take it out. It couldn't. It died.
Barely did.
Let that be a lesson, viewers.
Meanwhile, the 4th base is now up and running, and what does that mean? That means we have Stargates. Stargates are on the way. We are getting ready for a big Skytools transition from Cyan,
those are
but
kills.
He still needs time, as those are kills on the Sag defense.
Yeah, a lot of wasted minerals here for Cyan. He is maxed out, so he can start working on accruing a bank.
With the Vipers.
Vipers are out, and we see a yoink! Huge yoink! One Colossus goes down, and again, Cyan is going to struggle to remake them.
Is going to struggle. We get a feedback on one of those Vipers, but we're down to 2 Colossus. And again, once we get the energy for it, we can go in once again, picking off a Colossus at a time. The Stargates are up and running, but still no carrier production yet for Cyan. He just doesn't have any money. He's broke.
Yeah. Sees some mine, but he can't. His main base is probably out of minerals as well, or getting low on minerals, at the very least.
That they are. We do see a big Zealot warping into the main base, forcing back some reinforcements from Mixu. The mothership is on a mission, by the way. We do have a recall available, if need be, to go for a bit of a base trade or to head across the map.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I'm sure Cyan doesn't really want to fight this main army that has all of these Vipers to support it, as well as Lurkers. Good yoink on one of those High Templar earlier as well, by the way.
Was a good yoink. Meanwhile, just keeping the High Templar count low. The Colossus is a bit exposed. One Colossus goes down, but it brings down an Immortal as well. The Lurker count just a little bit too strong here to really brute force our way through. That is a Spine Forest, by the way. We're buying so much time here with the side defense.
Yeah, one of them will go down, but it's only a single one. Meanwhile, we have a Nidus Worm popping up right outside of this 5th base location. Could provide Mixu with so much reinforcement, so much of a really good rally point to reinforce with.
Yeah, we can reinforce, but the center base goes down. Tempests are revealed, and the Tempests are going to be able to have their way with this army. Vipers could try to yoink, but honestly, there's not that many Hydras on the ground. There's not that much anti-air. At the same time, DTs and Zealots into the main base. Cyan, he's making some moves happen here, but his base did fall. Oh, he's going for the Vipers.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a Hail Mary. The Vipers are so exposed. Tempests just need a few more volleys, but the Queen pops in to save them right at the very end.
Yeah, clutch transfuses from Mixu. Main base does go down to the Zealots and to those DTs, and Cyan is pushing. With these Tempests, there's no big answer for them. Corruptors are going to be ideal, but the Spire is still on the way.
It is still on the way. Vipers are still alive, thankfully, for Mixu here, so he can still yoink these Tempests. He, like you said, doesn't have that many Hydras on the ground, but if he can isolate these Tempests, they can still go to town on them.
Yeah, it's one of those things where Hydra Lurker Viper has potential, but it's difficult to make work against Skytoss. To be fair, Cyan doesn't have the best army yet, but we're getting there with 4 Tempests, with our High Templar, Storm, Colossus. We're still building up as Cyan is double expanding. This Lurker has eyes on this, but it's only the single Lurker. It should eventually be cleaned up as we get a Fungal!
Oh, we do get a Fungal! Just, like, so huge storms coming down.
We gotta follow that up. We got the Yoinks as well, picking off some of those Colossus. Good pickoffs there from Mixu. The base does get up and running. He's gonna have to be careful here. I mean, Cyan, it's been impressive that he's been able to build up and just hold on for this long. He reestablishes his center base, getting back into more Tempest production. And Mixu's Corruptors aren't that ideal. Their upgrades aren't looking too ideal, so do recall towards the north.
And a little bit of cheeky recall, a little bit of a cheeky cloak as well. Going to be able to take out the Spine Forest, going to be able to take out the freshest base, I believe, that Mixu has at this point. So, yeah, huge moves coming up from Cyan. We can see in the income as well. Mixu is starting to fall quite a bit when it comes to mineral mining.
Yeah, we do get a Fungal, but the recall is done just in time. We recall the entire army back home. Lurkers are cleaned up, and now we can see Cyan bounce from one end of the map into the other as he's going for some of these more fresh mining bases. Mixu going for his own counter push, though. He doesn't want to take this line down, going for the fresh Nexus.
Yeah, he knows that he needs to reciprocate. He knows that he can't afford for Cyan to overtake him whatsoever in the mining. This is unfortunately for Mixu, though, where the main Protoss army is at.
That's a lot of Hydras going down, and there's not that much anti-air. These Tempests, they can have their way with these Lurkers. The Corruptor count is not looking too high either.
Yeah, we still have plenty of High Templar. Plenty of High Templar on the ground here for Cyan, so a lot of storm potential. A lot of feedback potential as well. Mixu has to be that much more careful with how he engages.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think I prefer Cyan's army at the moment. I think we've hit that stride here where we have a solid Skytoss army. Now we have carriers on the way. The Tempest count is looking quite healthy for Cyan. His base is denied, but at the same time, Mixu is also hurting for bases as well. He has a mineral bank, but not so much a gas one.
protection. Yeah, not so much a gas tank, which is really what you want as we get into the extreme late game. He is making use of his minerals, though. Gotta hand it to him. He is building as many spores as he can, as many spine crawlers and as many spores as he can. There's really no other use for his minerals at this stage of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, side defense can work wonders here in the late game. Meanwhile, the lurkers are pushing forward. We can see that Cyan's a bit out of position.
Ooh.
Big storms on the Hydras, though.
Big storms on the Hydras. Huge feedbacks on the Vipers. And just like that, Mixu has lost pushing potential with this army. Still going to try to siege this down. Still going to try to keep Cyan rooted into this position instead of, taking out some of his rogue bases here and there. Huge fungal on top of the Tempest, but not much of a follow-up here. Another brilliant feedback on top of the Vipers, and huge storms land right on top of the Corruptor army. So many of them go down, and I don't think Mixu can replace them.
Yeah.
He's only making 4, and he's already out of gas.
You saw Mixu plummet an army supply there. He was almost maxed out, now down to 135, and as you mentioned, he does not have a lot of gas to work with. Mixu, he is hurting right now, does resaturate the northern base at least, but Cyan, he has clawed his way back into this. He has bounced back, going for the recall, going for the fresh mining base.
How is it that every time a drone tries to make a hatchery in the top right-hand corner, it gets caught by the army of Cyan?
He just wants to expand, just wants to become a hatchery here as the army rocks up. The base goes down, 12 workers as well. And Cyan, he's now in the driver's seat here, recalling, bouncing from base to base, from side of the map to the other corner of the map instead. Does end up leading out one of these Archons, but he can go for another base.
Just like so, yeah. He confirms the army positioning here of Mixu. So he knows he can continue to push this down. He even has a run-by of Zealots into this other fresh base. That was a kill and not a cancel.
Oh, a brutal loss there for Mixu. Again, Cyan, he has hit his final 4. Mixu, unfortunately, not able to get there in time. We do dive on the Tempest. One Tempest goes down, but we take some massive storms to the face. It was not quite worth it for Mixu. GG gets called, and Cyan will take game number 1.
GG. Nicely done here from Cyan, keeping the hopes of his team, Mystery Gaming, alive. Keeping his own hopes alive in this series as well. It really looked like he was getting pummeled. It was absolutely pummeled for most of that early game. It took him so long to get a 4th base up and running, but hey, Cyan, he just defended and defended and defended, eventually got into a fleet beacon, and from there, he wasn't quite in control, but he was starting to climb back up. And then when we got to the final, his final form with Tempest and with that mothership as well, that's when it really looked like he was in control. That's when it really looked like Mixu was struggling to get an answer that can deal with that army composition.
Yeah,
Cyan was thrown out.
I definitely feel for Mixu there. Like, he played so well in the first half of this game. Like, he was containing his opponent. He had a massive economic advantage as well. What we should emphasize, though, isn't just that Cyan was defending, but Cyan, he also kind of he was also able to kind of drag Mixu down into the mud with him. Like, the big moment when he sniped the Lurker Den, right? He sniped the Lurker Den, he sniped the Lair as well. This meant that Mixu didn't really have the tech lead that he was hoping for. He was already trying to work with Lair Tech Lurkers, if you remember, and he was denied that hive for so long. That allowed Cyan to have a little bit more breathing room to eventually retake his 4th base and bounce back. So it wasn't just the defensive nature of Cyan, but also being able to have moments like that was a key part of him being able to survive for that long.
Yeah, it's like, sure, you cut off my arm, but I cut off your leg.
Exactly, and yeah, in the end, of course, Cyan was able to defend until he got into that final form. Mixu, unfortunately, took a little bit too long to transition into Corruptors, because I'm sure he was hoping he could end the game before that happened. So again, I can definitely feel for Mixu's position in that game, and feel for that game in general, like Smooch. I'm sure a lot of Zerg players can relate there. Yeah, we've all been there, Pat. We've all been there. But GG.
But yeah, GG, and we're going to continue our series here in the top right-hand corner of Pulse You. It's our blue broadcast player from Mystery Gaming, who's Cyan.
And in the bottom left, we have for Berserker eSports, it is Mixu.
I'm liking the contrast of the cams that we're seeing, by the way. Got Cyan with, I'm assuming, his phone camera. Just elevated. It looks like he's sitting on a box that's on his chair. Mixu, he's positioned the camera much high above him.
Yeah, we do see the cam meta evolving. True.
Yeah.
And I'm curious.
That's gonna go into this, yeah.
I'm curious how this plays out. So, as a reminder, this is loser's pick. It is loser's pick here in WTL. So Mixu has chosen post-youth of all maps. Interesting. Now, post-youth is known for its longer games because it's so large, so many bases to be taken. But you can argue that you can be a little bit more aggressive as a Zerg player because you can take that hybrid gold and you can also take the center gold base a little bit faster as well and try to rush and max out a lot faster than your opponent and try to deny any kind of bases. I'm curious how aggressive Mixu wants to be and how tech heavy he wants to be as well.
Yeah. Every time I see Zerg on post-youth, my mind immediately goes to Mutas.
I mean, it can work as well.
Matt, you can 2-base. So yeah, you can 2-base. So you have the perfect opportunity to 2-base it. You know?
True. You don't see 2-base Muta in ZVP too often, but a Spire play is definitely viable here on this map. Can definitely get a lot done. We saw there that Cyan was so quick to check the gold, so he immediately checked the gold base. Hasn't been taken yet here, so we'll keep an eye on that. We'll keep an eye on Mixu to see when and where he takes the gold. For now, hatch gas pool.
Slowly but surely. Nice and standard. He is starting to build, Mixu, I mean, is building at his ramp. So I have to wonder if he's going to try to wall that off.
Yeah, that's a really
Not
nice...
something you see too often as from Zerg players.
Yeah, it's a really nice adaptation. It does mean that if your opponent goes for some kind of all-in, then you can wall off and defend against Glaive Adept specifically. So, really nice touch there from Mixu. Back at home, Cyan is making a safety zealot. Interesting, getting into his own economic game and economic build. Or are we going for the gold?
We are going for the gold. Cyan does scout this. It'll be really funny if Mixu cancels right now.
Okay, the gold has been taken, so we were curious if we were going to take it as a third or as a fourth. We have our answer as the third base. Cyan responds with the Twilight Council.
Yeah, he knows that priority numero uno is to deny that gold base, is to shut it down. We've seen a lot of similar dynamics, specifically on not Hecate, you know, the map I'm thinking about. The other map that has a gold base in the middle of it.
Alcyone.
That Zerg players like to go for often. Alcyone, there we go. We see that dynamic very often on Alcyone, and I think pretty recently, players like Shin have been demonstrating how to deflect the Protoss response, just to have contingency plans on top of contingency plans. So I have to imagine that Mixu knows what he's doing, for lack of a better word, that Mixu will have that in mind, and yeah, we'll be able to defend this gold.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure is going to be on Mixu here, as it's going to be 4-gate Glaive Adept from Cyan. Now, I believe this variation does not have a robo. I believe there is no robo for Cyan, so this looks like a macro version of 4-gate Glaives. Yep, we have the Forge on the way. We should be expanding behind this as well. Because we haven't spent any money or any resources on the robo, we can afford a Nexus.
Yeah, very interesting choice coming out here from Cyan. But I think he does recognize, in the end, just how dire his situation is. So he is going to be getting his robo regardless, expanding a little bit later, but still, it does really look like he is committed to getting a third base and eventually going to the mid-game.
Yeah, as you pointed out, this third base is delayed for Cyan in favor of the robo, so very safe adaptation from him. Does have a lot of adepts, but not really too committed here. This is just to get some damage done. This is not an all-in by any means, but we don't want to throw away these adepts is the thing, as we do manage to catch a couple of workers who do deny mining at the gold at least.
Yeah, all of our queens are coming down, trying to get into position. A couple of roaches are about to pop, 16 at a time. That's the power of post-youth. You have the hybrid base in your main, and you have this gold base over there.
And the
so much production to work with.
And the Sim City, Poppy. We wall off the main base as well. The adepts, they do not find a way in. We can shut them down. One queen will fall, but the roaches are able to force back those adepts. Good defense here by Mixu.
Yeah, nicely done. Cyan, meanwhile, still struggling to find some damage. He hasn't been able to slow down his Zerg opponent. He himself delayed his Nexus by a little bit, so economically he is very far behind. He might want a longer game, but he might live to regret that.
Yeah, bearing in mind that once this Go base gets up and running, it can really just spike Mixu ahead and he can snowball out of control with his production. And I imagine he's going to be going for a 3-base all-in. Typically, we cut workers at around 66, but we can afford to cut workers earlier on with this gold. We're still getting there though. The lair is now finishing up. With the lair, we can gain access to Roach speed. So it's going to take a while for that to really get going, which means Cyan can expand. Did he? He did cancel the natural. Wait, what?
He canceled that. He canceled it, and he's getting it again now.
He's throwing down 2 more gateways. Is this why he delayed his third for the robot? Are we really setting up for a 2-base all-in? Is this a fake third? Because he wasn't forced to cancel it, right?
At this point, he wasn't forced to cancel it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is just a fake third. Mixu does come back in, and I'm guessing with that scout, he knows it's going to be a fake as well. A lot of drones are finally starting to fall to these adepts and to the bile as well. A little bit there. Cyan far ahead when it comes to the worker count, but doesn't matter. I'm keeping my eyes on this production tab. Nexus is getting close to finishing.
It is, but we're not probing. We have probed up to 51, but we're focusing on Zealot reinforcements and the Immortal count as well. So Cyan is getting ready for a charged out Immortal-based army. He is massing up. At the same time, Mixu is all in. Mixu, he's cut workers at 33, now 39. He's moving out with his Roach Ravager. There's a very committed push here. How will these armies clash? I believe because there's no Nexus, there's no overcharge on the low ground. I think the Nexus is just about to finish up.
Yeah, just in time here for Cyan. But we'll see if it matters. He does have a lot of sentries for force fields, but we also have a lot of Ravagers. Nice move here from Cyan, forcing a couple of Ravager biles a little prematurely.
And does force out those biles here. Charges have been revealed, so Mixu respects it. He backs off. You can see that Mixu is still working on Roach speed. Like, Roach speed is still on the horizon. And FSA do manage to shade out. We do catch a couple of transferring workers.
Yeah, nicely done once again. Mixu going to be just perpetually behind when it comes to the workers. Beautiful body blocking here from Mixu on top of this ramp. But unfortunately, it's not quite going to be enough. 2 adepts do sneak in, and we'll get more drone damage.
And you can see that Mixu, as he's bleeding out drones, he's not replacing them. He's not getting a 4th base. Mixu is doubling down on Ling Roach. Roach speed is kicked in. Bailing speed about to finish up as well. So Mixu is committed with this. And can he collapse and break this 3rd base against mainly Zealot Immortal? I want to believe that Mixu can pull this off.
Yeah, I want to believe in the Ravagers and the Banelings, but that's also still a lot of sentries that Cyan has. It's all about control, execution, positioning. This is just a micro battle at this point.
And I was going to say I like this before the Archons pop out, but we do have 2 Archons now morphing in for Cyan. The Templar Archives is done. Force fields are thrown down as well. Nice catch here on some of these Roaches.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty big catches. I was going to say those force fields actually do force Mixu up that ramp, but good body blocking with a Stalker. It's going to prevent that. Mixu collapses on top of this entire army. Battery overcharge has popped, and we still have Immortals. We still have Archons. It looks like Cyan is pushing this back.
Oh my god, he's got, what, 5 Immortals? It looks like 1 Immortal is going to be going down towards the left-hand side, but as you mentioned, Cyan, he's holding.
He is holding. He's holding, and he's looking to counterattack.
And this is dangerous. Again, Mixu does not have an amazing economy behind this. He's not built up for the mid-game right now. He's still committed, still all in. You can see the production tab there. Still Lings and Roaches on the way. There is no 4th base. There is no additional droning. Now we start some workers, but this saturation, this droning, it's late.
Yeah, it feels like he's getting these workers to replace drones that were fallen instead of to get a new base. But as I say, that 4th base is now on the way.
Yeah, Mixu is going to try to macro out of this, but the reality is that Cyan has the lead right now. He has the advantage. Zealot run by coming in towards the natural. At the same time, Lings, they do slip into the main and the natural as well. So this will distract Cyan for a moment. It will delay his push.
For a moment. Not too long, though. As, yes, Cyan once again moves in with a little bit of Zealot run by, does confirm the armory positioning, does confirm the 4th base. And he knows that all he has to do right now is build up back at home.
Yeah, like honestly,
He knows, he's well aware he has the advantage.
Yeah, there's no rush for Cyan, to be honest. Bailings, they waddled in. They didn't quite get connections they were looking for. But to put things into perspective, Cyan is working on +3. Mixu has 0-0. Because, again, the game was never intended to go on this long. He has no Evo Chambers. He has no upgrades. He only has Roach speed and Bailing speed. Gets eyes on the 4th base. We'll delay it. We'll try to at least. But, again, Cyan, he's just outscaling Mixu.
By a hefty amount. Even sneaking this Warp Prism into the main base. Gonna try to snipe some tech. That's the Evo Chamber.
Yeah, that is the first Evo Chamber on the way for Mixu.
Yeah, which would, once again, just delay the upgrades. The attack upgrades of Mixu.
Yeah, and here we go, Cyan moving out with his main army as well. We do have a decent Roach count here, bearing in mind that supplies are looking similar, but Mixu has inflated supply with Roaches, so the quality of his army is less than ideal. He's being dragged into the main base, and he's being caught out of position as well. Cyan with the concave.
Yeah, actually out-concaving the defender, which is not something you see every day. Cyan doesn't dive straight for the main base. Instead, opts to harass this 3rd base once more, prevent mining. It probably is the more valuable target at this stage, and Cyan can just keep this push going. He doesn't have his Warp Prism in position to help juggle a micro, so he does have to be careful, but at this point he has so much firepower that it doesn't look like it's gonna matter. GG is called. Cyan gonna take that series 2-2. More importantly, gonna force our ace match. Oh boy. You can see Cyan proud of himself there. He knows he did it for his team. He knows he keeps them in this.
GG, well played. Cyan, he does take the 2-0. He had 7 Immortals in that final fight, by the way. It was insane how high the Immortal count was. So again, the pure Roach army just melted before the might of Cyan. And as you mentioned, that means we are tied up 3-3. We are going to the ace match.
Indeed, we are. Whew! That was a close, very close series that we've had so far. That was, yeah, very, very nicely done. We have one single best of one remaining this evening. Players are gonna get together and decide who's gonna get thrown out. Our admins have decided on a map. It is gonna be post-youth once again.
Ooh,
interesting choice here.
Yeah, post-youth is our ace match of choice. For those that are curious how this works, the map is predetermined, and both teams, they have a couple of minutes here to decide amongst themselves who is the ace player. They will reveal that name, that player, to the admin, anonymous to the opposing team, of course, and then it will be revealed here for all of us to behold. Who's going to come out? Who's our ace player?
Well, for Berserker, I think there's definitely a favorite player for the ace. It's obviously Gonku Banda, but he's not here today, so it's probably going to be DNS.
Yeah.
Who's going to be sent out by Berserker. Mystery Gaming, though, is a little bit of a tougher prediction.
Yeah, like
I want to say Coffee.
I could see. I agree. I agree that I feel like DNS is the more likely pick for Berserker. There is an argument to be made for BattleB. I can see that argument being made. I feel like it's going to come down to who's feeling a little bit more confident on a larger map like post-youth. And you have to try to like snipe your opponent as well, right? It's like, I'm sure both teams are thinking like, is it going to be DNS or BattleB? Is it going to be Coffee or Cyan? And I'm sure they're trying to predict that and trying to counteract that as well. Both teams are. As I feel like you can make arguments for either one of those two players from both teams.
The 90 chess could be coming at play.
Exactly. You
have to wonder. Yeah, you have to wonder how much of a risk they're going to take here, though, as both Mystery Gaming and Berserker eSports right now, they are in the same kind of grouping here. They are in the yellow in the group stage, so there's a chance that either of them will make it to. There's a good chance that either of them will make it to the playoffs, but there's just as high of a chance that either of them won't. That being said, Mystery Gaming is 4th in the ranking right now. Berserker eSports is 7th. So, yeah, maybe Mystery Gaming does feel like they can afford to take a bit more of a risk. Maybe Berserker eSports feels that they don't want to take that much of a risk. And 7th place in the standings is one point away from having a good chance of being eliminated.
Yeah, like as you're saying, like this series, this map is so important for both teams, right? To be able to make it into those playoffs, to avoid relegation as well. The pressure is definitely on here, and you can see how closely matched Mystery Gaming and Berserker eSports are. I was just trying to think of, like, do we want a TVP on Post Youth? Like, if the answer is no, because I feel like, especially Coffee, he thrives in a more aggressive setting, and on a large map, I don't know.
Best of one.
Yeah, exactly, and on a smaller map as well. So I'm not too sure if Coffee is going to be the best choice on Post Youth, unless he has like a specialized build, right? Like for the goal base, or to be a little bit greedier or something. Like maybe I can see him in that scenario. Who you thinking? Are you thinking
beard a little bit?
you don't have a beard. What are you talking about? I think Coffee or Cyan. Coffee or Cyan. Who are you leaning towards?
Well, that's cheating. First of all, saying Coffee or Cyan.
Oh, do we have our answer?
Oh,
we haven't.
We have our answer. It's gonna be a PvP, which is it's a good thing that they revealed it sooner, because I was 1 second away from saying Coffee.
After I was thinking of TVP on Post Youth, I was like, it's gonna be the Protoss. It's just gonna be the PvP instead, and there it is. Cyan versus DNS PvP to end it all. Imagine risking, like, just hinging the series on a PvP.
On a PvP, on a best of one PvP. I think it's pretty important to note right now, Cyan, I mean, we don't even see him. He's out of the room. He went to the bathroom, I guess, or got water or something. He just played out his match, so he's probably he has momentum on his side, but he's also, you know, played out 2 matches. He could be feeling a little bit fatigued, which is why he's taking this quick little bio break. DNS, though, he was the first player to get sent out tonight. He's been able to have a little bit of a rest. No doubt he's been able to watch, been able to keep his eyes on the matches so far. And, I mean, just look at his face. He's determined.
He is determined.
He knows exactly what's coming down.
100%. And you know what? If you're in the chat, predictions. Hold on.
Predictions.
Mystery versus Berserker in the chat. Hold on. Ace match. We have Cyan. We have DNS. If you're in the chat, predictions. Predictions are now open. Place your bets on how you think this series will unfold. Who is going to be our champions, our victor here for the final series of the night? Is it going to be Mystery or Berserker? Cyan or DNS? Protoss or Protoss? Best of luck.
Yeah. Well, Papa Farrell already brings up a good point. Cyan is feeling a little worried, a little scared in this Ace match.
Yeah, he has yet to reveal himself. True. Or is he just hiding his final form? You know, is he hyping himself up? Is he doing a bit of a lap around the apartment before coming out looking strong, looking psyched up?
He's lifting weights right now, doing push-ups, just getting the blood pumping.
He is pumping, and again, it's hard to call. I think I want to give the edge to DNS, but at the same time, like, it's
oh,
hard.
that's what the Elo says, you know?
True. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah. More than 10 is more than 10.
He does have more than 10 ELA.
Yeah. Cyan just strolls back in. He's ready. He's calm. He's getting in here. He is. It almost looks like he's deliberately taking his time. So I'm gonna say here, slowly pops the earbuds back in. You know.
Are you saying that he's commencing the mental battle against DNS already? You know, he's like, mate, there's no rush here. You know, I don't care. Like,
I already made you wait for me. I have the advantage.
It was the power move.
It's a power move, yeah.
Really, he was just waiting outside the door with like his phone out, just waiting for like 2 minutes to pass before coming back in. Let's go.
I have the negotiating power. As we get into game, in the top right-hand corner, our blue Protoss player for Mystery Gaming, it's Cyan.
And in the bottom left, we have the ace player for Berserker eSports, DNS.
Oh boy, indeed. It all comes down to this. The two teams who I'm fairly certain now, most people who have been keeping up with WTL, two teams who you would think would be right next to each other in the standings. It's not quite the case right now, as Mystery Gaming is ahead of a Berserker by a couple of slots, but obviously if Berserker is able to take this, that dynamic's going to flip entirely on its head.
Yeah,
Berserker will be up quite a few seeds ahead of Mystery Gaming if they're able to take this.
It's still the early rounds of the round robin stage, so like the standings are very malleable, right? You can still just kind of spike up and spike down depending on you know, 1 or 2 series here. So again, every series does matter that much more to be able to make it into those playoffs, to avoid relegation, to have a good standing in the round robin stage. The pressure is on, and based on the map, we should talk a little bit about it. We should be seeing gate expands. Gate expand openers here from Cyan, gate expand from DNS. It's a similar dynamic to what we saw on Site Delta, where we can go for faster expansions, or we can even go for a faster Stargate and end up in Phoenix Wars.
Yeah. Got confused by the colors here for a second. As got a little bit of PTSD from DNS gas stealing earlier in his series against SCV, but
Sure.
no, that was DNS's. We're looking at DNS's base where those red assimilators are.
Yeah, as I don't know if you noticed, but I believe Cyan pulled out a gas. So he actually has extra minerals. He's going for the Nexus. He wants that Nexus. He won't be able to get it though, as DNS is doing a great job at just blocking that location. We do pull back into gas. Stargate is thrown down for DNS, and the Stargate should be thrown down for Cyan as well, and that'll be entering the beginning of potentially the Phoenix Wars here. Cyan though, again, because he pulled out a gas, he actually doesn't have the amount that he's looking for. He will be blocking across the map though. The pylon finishes.
Yeah, it's something, but here we go. A pylon in the other side of the map as well.
Oh,
almost a cyber core.
Ugh.
But the probe was forced away at the end there. We do have a second pylon, though.
That's
something.
Yeah, I mean, we do force out the second pylon, but that was a massive misstep there, as DNS is able to throw down the cyber core. Cyan should have, but was late on the draw. Oracle is on the way instead, as Cyan did not throw down the Stargate.
That he did not. He has the resources for a natural, for an expansion, but he doesn't have the space for it.
Yeah,
not
Cyan
just yet.
Going for a second gateway instead, so we're not entering Phoenix battles. DNS is going to be going for the Oracle to deal some economic damage. Nexus have been thrown down, and DNS taking a bit of a lead here in the early game.
Pretty heavy lead, honestly. He doesn't cancel the cyber core, I don't think, so... And at this point, you might as well not, right? Yeah, he doesn't cancel it, and you might as well keep it up and running. Just delay that Nexus even further. This is a very valuable base to get. So the fact that DNS was able to get it unhindered does mean that he's going to stroll into the next phase of the game. I don't want to call it the mid-game, but yeah, kind of the early mid-game with a huge advantage.
Well, I mean, this looks like Cyan's being forced into a one-base all-in. Cyan, he's got 3 gates set up. He's got a Twilight Council as well. Is now going to be expanding, but this expansion is so late. Oracle comes in from behind, and probes are going down. Cyan, he is hurting right now.
Yeah, on any other map, I would absolutely agree. Cyan would be forced into a one-base all-in, but this is post-you for talking about. One base is only going to get you so far when you have that super rich hybrid base right next to you. Exactly.
I mean, like, how do you one base all in here when your opponent's natural is a pocket base? So, like, it's so safe and sound, it's so difficult to punish. Cyan's just in a really, really rough position here. Is going for a Blink follow-up, is rushing into Blink, at least behind this. And, I mean, he's got a lot of gateways. He can apply some pressure, but I feel like DNS should be safe and sound back at home, especially with this stasis trap.
Should be. As Cyan is about halfway done with his Blink, there's a possibility, especially with his higher gateway count, to try to get into the main. Yeah. These stalkers having a fun time.
I mean, that's a second shield. We have 2 shield batteries. We have 2 shield batteries. We have an overcharge. We have a stasis trap. We have a void ray coming out. We have a robo with immortal production. DNS is looking solid on this 2-base setup. Like, I don't know how he can fall, but this is how we bounce back in this game. Cyan looking to take the gold.
Yeah, trying to sneak it out.
Oh, never mind.
Which is probably his best bet at this point. DNS is going to be feeling very safe, very confident. He's anticipating, especially with all these stasis wards, he is anticipating counterattacks coming out from Cyan. But Cyan, he's not playing that game. He's not playing by those rules.
Yeah, like the main base of DNS is just littered with stasis traps, and I mean, on the one hand, you could argue, is DNS overreacting? I mean, he can afford to. Like, DNS is still in a good position. He's still ahead economically. Like, he's still looking solid here. And he's building up with Immortals and a massive army. We do check the goal base has not been taken yet. Cyan, actually looking to take the more standard third base instead.
Okay, well, he'll still technically be up a base. 3 is more than 2, so he will be up a base technically, but considering how delayed his natural base was, I'm not sure it's gonna be enough. Again, it feels like every time we see DNS in a PvP, the story is he takes an early game advantage, and sure, he might not have the advantage for too long, but in that time where he does hold on to his advantage, he makes full use of it. He gets more production, he gets more tech, he gets more upgrades, and DNS, even though his third Nexus is going to be a little bit delayed, I still want to say that he has the advantage.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a give and take going on right now. Stasis goes off, only catching one of these Stalkers. DNS's third base is later, as you mentioned, but DNS, to make up for that, he has 4 gases instead of the 2 that Cyan has. With that extra gas, we have Twilight Council now on the way. We have Immortal production as well. Like, the army quality of DNS is looking better here, and he should be able to settle into his 3-base setup as well without too much issue. Charges on the way. We're skipping Blink from the side of DNS to be able to keep up with our opponents, and we're going to be settling into the mid game. It looks like neither player is being hyper aggressive. We're calming things down
for now. It definitely gives both of our players an opportunity to catch up. DNS catching up on bases on his economy, Cyan catching up when it comes to his tech. 1 Oracle will fall. A little bit of a misstep here from DNS.
Yeah, we do pick off one of the Oracles at least. Cyan now going to be the first to establish his third base. The saturated gateways are being taken as we speak. Meanwhile, DNS has to just take it slow and steady. Honestly, there's no pressure on DNS to move out anytime soon, to like try to push into the third or anything like that. I feel like take it slow, calm, like cool, calm, and collected play here from DNS, and we can just build up into a death ball of an army.
I was gonna say, would be a death ball if not for that stasis ward, but the Observer is accompanying these Stalkers. DNS on a little bit of a lower army supply, but obviously he has a much more high-tech army. He's got the quality, Cyan's got the quantity.
Exactly, as we're now getting into our gateway explosions. Charges are amassing. DNS working towards the Temple Archives first. That's going to be for Archon production. You can see that Cyan has yet to really embrace that, as Cyan is only now taking 3 gases. He's been on 2 gases this entire time, so with his gases now kicking in,
Blink.
Soon Cyan should be able to afford that as he does blink into the main.
And completely undefended as well. 4 probes already going to go down, and he's going to completely delay Forge upgrades as well. A couple Stalkers here from DNS, a little bit distracted in that third base, dealing with the Stalker. So Cyan blinked in, got some pylons, got some probes, and then just blinked out.
Yeah, I mean, DNS still has a worker lead, but that was some good damage. Really nice damage here from Cyan. Again, his advantage is Blink. Like, he has a more mobile army, so he can kind of dip in and out and outposition DNS. Once again, DNS is not quite ready in his main, but he does have a stasis that can help him. Cyan has detection, though, so he should avoid that stasis trap. He should have eyes on it. Should be aware.
Should. Yeah, okay. It's just every now and then, you know, the Observer's just slightly out of range. See the Protoss player blinking on forward into that stasis, but it's also not the case this time. Cyan gonna be blinking right back into this position, gonna delay +1 even further. Okay, not quite.
Oh, it doesn't quite get it. We see the Immortals gonna be ferrying these Stalkers back, and you can see that, there we go, he forced the recall. I was about to say that DNS is ready for the blink to the low ground. He was waiting there for the trap. In the end, we did save those Stalkers.
We saved the Stalkers, but the Observer is still there. Okay, did get... Yeah, okay, it's going home.
Yeah. Is turning back
Wasn't
around.
quite able to be express ship. Wasn't quite able to afford the express shipment.
Yeah, we get the revelation on the Observer, but it looks like because there's no Blink Stalkers, it will be able to float back home. And that was some really nice damage from Cyan, killing, I think, 12 workers in total, delaying +1. Like, Cyan, he is clawing his way back into this, and now he's catching up when it comes to the quality of his army as well. Now, DNS still has a hefty Immortal lead, that is true. We deny the 4th, we deny the gold.
Haluk? Haluk Colossus just wanted to see what was going on, you know, just wanted to check things out. Does get shut down. Does confirm the immortal count, I guess, of DNS. Cyan going to be ahead when it comes to the Archon count, but on a head-to-head, oh, my mistake, actually. I think they're about even on the Archons.
Yeah, they're even on Archons. DNS is ahead in Immortals. Cyan has, I believe, a larger Stalker count with Blink, so he has potential there with his Micro, with his Blink. But outside of that, he does have to be careful here, as DNS does have the supply lead, and I do still favor DNS in a head-to-head fight.
Yeah, as do I, but we'll see if we ever get to that point. I think Cyan also favors DNS in the head-to-head, so he wants to avoid that as much as possible. Tries to retreat, but DNS is forcing the issue.
Yeah, Cyan has to be very careful. It's a delicate dance here, making sure he doesn't engage, he doesn't commit, just poking in wherever he can. Now, this is a big moment for Cyan. We have a Bay on the way. We have a Robotics Bay and a second Robo as well. He's working towards Disruptors. That is a way to counteract the higher Immortal count that DNS has.
Yeah, Blink Disruptors. It's taken me back to, what was this, 2020, 2021?
Yeah, kind of the...
It was pretty popular back in the day, not so much nowadays.
Yeah, we don't see it as often just because games end a little bit faster nowadays, but there we go, Disruptors on the horizon. Cyan does outposition DNS, by the way. We get into that third.
Do get into that third. Orpus was a little bit exposed there, but thankfully Cyan was able to retreat. Was able to keep it alive.
At the same time, Cyan going to be counterattacking with Zealots, getting into a middle line. H probes go down. We force a recall. Really nice damage dealt here by Cyan. Once again, just dragging DNS left and right, poking in and out wherever he can. Once again, just catching him out and getting some extra workers.
Yeah, making full use of the mobility his army is affording him. Another Haluk Colossus. This is no longer a mistake here. That's just something Cyan likes to do.
I mean, it gives him high ground vision, I guess. Like, it does help a little bit in these fights, just a bit. As Zealot Runman on the right-hand side should be cleaned up. Meanwhile, I do like this from DNS. As we see Cyan working towards Disruptors, DNS, he's throwing down a second Stargate, working towards a Fleet Beacon, and we are amassing Phoenixes. Now, Phoenixes, they can disable Disruptors. With, of course, that lift, they can render those Novas inert.
Yeah, you don't want to be a little bit careful, not to stack too many Phoenixes on top of Archons, but ideally you'll also get Archon range. Your ground army will be able to deal with the Archons that are on the ground. We do see a little bit of a head-to-head engagement, and Cyan actually gets some much better concave, and now we do have these Purification Novas being thrown forward. DNS also taking a lot of probe damage. Shooters run by. Got a little bit of a pause there, but GG, Cyan is able to completely pick apart DNS. Look at that. A little power play as well.
What I was
little finger whack coming on here. Very nicely done by Cyan.
Yeah, what I was about to say there was Cyan, he kind of baited out, or DNS threw away all of his Phoenixes. Yeah. He dove in with the Phoenixes. They got completely reset, of course, and with that, Cyan was able to take a much better fight, a much better engage. Before DNS could get into any kind of sky toss, to take a bit of a premature fight, and things escalated very quickly out of control. GG.
GG, very nicely done here from Cyan. I'm sure not many people were predicting Cyan to take that ace match. Again, just based on ELO, he was quite a bit further behind, but that was... Again, it looked, just to reiterate what you were saying, it looked like Cyan knew exactly what he was doing the entire time. He was in control, and he was able to bait out all of these Archons into a position where they would be flanked by Disruptors, and from there, DNS knew that he couldn't keep that game going on for much longer. It was just too far behind when it came to his army supply, and Cyan just had too much momentum going his way. GG.
Yeah, just a really crisp
I'm
timing
just
there.
impressed here, yeah.
If the game went on longer, I do think that the momentum would have swung back in favor of DNS. But again, that crisp timing with those disruptors was so clutch there for Cyan. As soon as he had them, he did hit his timing, was able to break out, and yeah, those Novas were insane. Unfortunately, that we couldn't dodge them, couldn't avoid them with the Archons, with the Immortals, and congratulations, Cyan takes it, and Mystery Gaming take the series 4-3.
Just like so. GG. Nicely done. For the time being, as you know, we are still pretty early into the group stage. It's round 4 out of 11. But for the time being, with that victory, Mystery Gaming has actually overtaken Basilisk. They're now third in the standings behind Shopify Rebellion and Vitality.
Oh yeah, they have overtaken quite a number of teams, so big win there for Mystery Gaming. As you saw, we have, of course, day 2 tomorrow of WTL. Tomorrow is going to be Team Liquid versus Starlight Twinkle and Team Vitality versus Shopify Rebellion. Ooh, some of the bigger teams are going to be facing off in less than 24 hours.
Yeah, in less than 24 hours. Not just some of the bigger teams, but I think we are going to have, in that second match, Vitality versus Shopify Rebellion, I'm going to call it here the most exciting TVT that we're going to see in a very long time. It's Ryung versus Byun as the starter there for Vitality versus Shopify Rebellion. I'm excited for that. Ryung, a TVT super demon, as he is often referred to, and Byun being not your typical Terran player, especially not in TVT, so I'm excited to see how that unfolds.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great matchup there between Team Vitality and Shopify. I do look forward to it. Again, if you guys are interested, consider following us here on the CranKy Ducklings. We do stream on a daily basis, and our weekend is going to be a little bit more jam-packed than usual, or I should say just a typical weekend for the CranKy Ducklings. We have 6 broadcasts over 3 days. We're going to be covering the KSL. The Korean StarCraft League is in 12 hours, so we're going to be live with that first, followed by Master Swan Open. That is our amateur tournament, our monthly amateur event for players that have Masters 2 and below. So followed by Master Swan Open, followed by World Team League, followed by the Logic Games, Sparkling Tuna Cup, and then the final day of World Team League as well. 6 different broadcasts back to back to back. Let's go.
It's coming down. It's all coming down. Yeah, but I mean, it makes sense. Well, I say it makes sense, but rather it's fitting that we have a jam-packed weekend, because next week we're actually going to be on a little bit of a break here on this channel specifically. StarCraft is not on a break, however. ESL SC2 Masters Spring is taking place next week, so that's why our broadcasts, our events are gonna take a little bit of a break. We are gonna be watching that.
Yeah, DreamHack Dallas is going to be that weekend. We might be a part of that broadcast as well. We might just be a community stream for the open brackets. That's typically kind of how we get involved. So we might be helping cover that. Outside of that, though, shout out to and best of luck to all the other casters that are going to be traveling and getting involved. I did see the talent lineup, and it's really exciting to see State is going to be invited and flown over from Korea, which is really cool.
Yeah. Really cool to see. I've been loving the State casting over here in GSL. And a little bit of a surprise, but a pleasant surprise as well. Chobra coming out, a little bit of a blast from the past.
Yeah.
As our stage host.
I can't remember the last time he was a stage. I think he was a stage host. Yeah, in Heart of the Swarm. I think for I want to say for maybe some of the Red Bull Battleground events. I know Mal was doing a lot of that.
Those.
But maybe Chobra as well. I can't quite recall. But it's been a while. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be excited for that. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Thanks so much for the support. Again, we're going to be live in 12 hours with the KSL. We're going to also be live with World Team League tomorrow, and Sparkling Tuna Cup and Master Swan Open and the Logic Games. Just plenty of content over the weekend. Yaku, do you have anything you want to say before we head off for the night?
I do have one thing to say. I accidentally left autoplay on YouTube, so after the clean feed cut, it immediately brought me to 4K natural environmental sounds ASMR. I was wondering why I was hearing birds. I thought, didn't they usually wake at this hour? A PTSD a little bit, but that would be why.
There you go. Check out that that bird wild ASMR 4-hour.
Oh, I already closed it.
Okay. Fair enough. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for the support. We'll see you guys next time. Big shout out to Rotterdam as well for the raid that we got earlier. Thank you so much. Hope that you also have a great weekend full of casting. I'm sure going to be plenty of content available as well over on Rotterdam's channel. Otherwise, we'll see you guys tomorrow for some more StarCraft.
We'll see you then.
Ciao.
Bella.